David Blackburn, I'm the Bell County Judge. I'm very uncomfortable sitting in this seat. I'm just going to tell you that right now. I tried not to sit here, but Judge Felton moved me over here. Welcome to the second board meeting of the Central Texas Alliance, Water Alliance Board. We had our inaugural meeting in Bell County last month, 2 months ago. I can't remember now, but last month or so. And it was truly just an organizational meeting. This meeting is also really still organizational in nature. But again, welcome to everybody here. We do have an agenda that we posted. There should be copies of the agenda on the table up here to my left, along with the sign-in sheet. So we have a record of those folks that are here, and looks like there's several name badges there. So if you didn't get a name badge and you want a name badge, you can come up and get one or make one for yourself. This is, we do have a quorum present today, and we do have not just quorum, but all of our directors. We have some people online also, and I'm going to rely on Judge Felton to let me know what I need to know about the folks that are online, but again, welcome to those that are watching online also.
So if you would, please, those online, please introduce yourself so we can get you on the, showing that you attended.
Manny, how about you first?
Good afternoon. Manny De La Rosa, City Administrator for the Village of Salado. Good afternoon.
Welcome.
Yes, this is Bruce Sorensen with Hampton Water.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Sorensen.
And
This is Corey Chambers, City of Coppers Cove.
Thank you, Corey.
This is Mark Newmeyer, Pendleton Water.
Thank you, sir.
Trevor Butler, Bell County WCID 1.
Thank you, Trevor.
Kenton Moffitt, City of Temple.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I see my board president, Rob Robinson, there.
Your audio is not.
James Kirby with Mustang Springs.
Thank you, Mr. Kirby.
Chad Newman with the City of Gatesville.
Thank you. Thank you, Chad.
Andrew Zagers, City of Killeen.
Thank you, Andrew. We miss anybody?
Kimmy Duchuk, Fort Hood.
General Manager, Clearwater.
Thank you.
This is Cheryl with Plummer.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, we good? All right, I'll go ahead and take up the agenda. The first item is to discuss and consider and take appropriate action, if necessary, to accept the minutes of the July 3rd, 2025 meeting, again, which was our first board meeting. And board members, why don't we introduce the board members again, second board meeting, just so everybody knows. We don't have nameplates up for everybody, so just so to do that. I've already introduced myself, David Blackburn, Bell County Judge. Ricky, you want to start on the end?
Ricky Garrett, WCID 1 Manager.
Dirk Aaron, representing Clearwater.
Scott Felton, McLennan County Judge.
And that is your four board members for the initial four board members for CTWA. So I want to say thanks to all of them for serving on this board and to their entities that they represent for allowing them to do so. And also, before I forget, I want to say thanks to Judge Felton for hosting today. So
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Judge. All right, first item on our agenda, again, is accept the minutes for the July 3rd, 2025 meeting. You should have a copy of those in your packet. And I'll entertain a motion or any corrections that you would submit to the minutes. All right.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to accept the minutes. Any other discussion or questions? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, motion carries. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is discuss and consider take appropriate action if necessary to authorize the engagement of an advisor for advisor services in accordance with Texas Government Code Chapter 2254 based on demonstrated competence and qualifications, and would authorize negotiation of scope and compensation for Phase 1 services. What I have asked is Ricky Garrett was drafted to be the secretary for our board, and I've also told him that that is a de facto staff position now on the board. So I've asked him to he put the agenda together for us, posts the agenda, does all of those administrative things. So I thought, why not just add on to that and let him do more? And so I've asked him to kind of introduce these items to us, and then we'll discuss as we need to. Ricky?
Yes, sir. So on this item, we were fortunate that Mr. Aaron Waters is here with us. Aaron has done a little bit of pro bono work for us, what we would call Phase Zero, which he's helped us. He's got some background with bylaws and policies and establishing a framework for these kind of boards. And so with that, I'd like Aaron, if you don't mind, he's got some next steps kind of things, and I'll let him take it from here.
Welcome, Aaron.
Thank you, Judge. Good afternoon. For the record, my name is Aaron Waters. I'm with Plummer, and I have a presentation whenever y'all are ready to pull it up.
Corey?
There we go.
Looks like it's coming.
Great. Well, I appreciate y'all giving me the chance to present on this. Central Texas Water Alliance is something that's very near and dear to me. I have family in Bell County, and they're all, you know, they've got eyes on this program as well, so they're very excited to see what happens. So I'm also very excited to be a part of this. You know, I think, Judge Blackburn, you've made the analogy of planting a tree that your grandkids grow under. Well, for this one, I believe it's digging a well so you have plenty of water down the road. So without further ado, I'd like to propose Owners Advisor Services phased approach. Here today, I have an overview of those services. Next slide, please. So as far as an overview goes, my name is Aaron. I have a couple other staff members that have helped me with Plummer. And what I want to go over today is just kind of an update on what we've done so far and then what the planned next steps could be. Review the accomplishments from the Phase Zero, which is the initial phase where we kind of scoped out a lot of the different framework items and bylaw items, membership guidelines, and other types of background documents that are required to really build this up. Then I will present the Phase 1 plan in greater detail and then provide an overview of future potential phases and then allow you all the opportunity to discuss. Next slide. So my background, I have many years of experience in the water sector. I am currently the area growth lead and senior project manager at Plummer. I've formerly worked with the Water Development Board and a host of other firms. And I have a strong background in regulatory compliance, stakeholder engagement, funding expertise, project management. I'm a certified Texas contract manager, a leader for many different boards and organizations outside of that. And I'll leave the details up there for y'all to peruse, but this is basically where I'm coming from. Next slide. So as far as a project background is concerned, Phase Zero was completed prior to the initial board meeting. So the initial agreement between Plummer and the Central Texas Water Alliance covers Phase 1 only of potentially 4 phases that we've scoped out. And the board would move forward with phases 2 through 4 only after separate considerations and approval of each phase's detailed scope of work, schedule, and budget. Each phase will be presented for formal board approval and action at the appropriate time, just making sure that there's enough resources, the priorities have been aligned, and statutory compliance is there to confirm that before that work begins. Next slide. So what do we do in Phase Zero? So these are some more foundational tasks. So we drafted the Central Texas Water Alliance templates for foundational governance, compliance, and operational documents. We drafted a public engagement toolkit and communication strategy moving forward. We drafted funding readiness protocols and fiscal controls. And we also discussed implementation templates, case studies, risk guidance, and we deliver those orientation materials and framework overview to the advisory committee. Next slide. So to outline Phase 1, the purpose of Phase 1, which is what we would move into, would be finalizing those governance and policy documents, making sure that they are compliant with statute. And then we will initiate stakeholder engagement and public outreach protocols, implementing project management and quality control systems, and provide flexible advisory support for emerging needs. Next slide. Key tasks of Phase 1 would include governance and organizational support, regulatory compliance and expansion management for membership, stakeholder engagement and communications, project management and quality control, and then offer a little wiggle room for contingency and on-call advisory. Next slide. Key deliverables from Phase 1 would include the final draft governance framework, the board policies, and its bylaws. We'd also have a compliance checklist and a sponsor procedure guide for new membership. We would also work on a communications framework, a CTWA fact sheet, and also provide public workshop summaries for those outreach and engagement events. We'd also provide a project management plan, monthly progress reports, and all QC documentation that accompanies all the other deliverables. Next slide. Now, as far as phases 2, 3, and 4, those, like I said, are to be considered in future amendments after phase 1 is completed, but phase 2 would look like this. Essentially, we would assess current and future water infrastructure needs, identify those opportunities for regional collaboration, develop a phased strategic plan that aligns itself with the regional water planning guidelines 5-year schedule, and then coordinate with members and partner agencies to align those priorities. Next slide. Phase 3 would then be the master planning criteria, where we would develop those criteria to evaluate and rank potential projects, compile and score a comprehensive project list based on that, and then create a multi-year capital improvement plan for the region. Additionally, we would be engaging members and stakeholders in prioritization workshops, just so that there's full transparency at every opportunity. Next slide. Phase 4 would include a funding strategy, which would evaluate and identify all those available funding programs, develop cost allocation models and rate structures if needed, and prepare materials for grant and loan applications, as well as work with financial advisor on bond readiness when needed. So that would be phases 2, 3, and 4. Next slide. And that's what I have to present to you today. Once again, my name is Aaron Waters. I'm the area growth lead for Plummer. I'm also senior project manager for any services that you procure. And if you have any questions, I'm open to those at this time.
Any questions from the board?
I've got one. So Aaron, would Plummer offer any sort of legal opinions or guidance on anything that might be questioned, whether it's in line with the statute or not, as far as a bylaw or a policy is, or would we need legal counsel to look at that also?
We're currently engaged with legal counsel through Plummer, and we can leverage those services as needed.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sir.
Would they be included in the cost?
We can scope that in for future phases. It wasn't included in this cost for phase 1.
What is the anticipated cost for phase 1?
Phase 1 would be $42,275. We do have contingency funds in there, and we can, we have some wiggle room in there to involve legal if we need to.
Along the lines of the question about the legal counsel or services that might be available, what about financial services, like development of financial policies, even budget development, that kind of thing?
We can certainly help out with those. If it comes with, so phase 4 is where we outlined a lot of the financial readiness components. And the way I had structured this was that phases 2, 3, and 4 could be executed concurrently. And so if you'd like to engage with something that a little bit sooner, then we could certainly adjust the timeline of phase 4. And then we have many different partners that we work with on funding readiness and bond counsel and other types of.
Yeah, it wasn't necessarily, phase 4 mentions development of funding strategies, cost allocation models, support for grants, those kinds of things, which again, we'll need that for sure. I was thinking more about, again, sort of establishing initial governance models or governance structure associated with, again, budget development. Some of this might be encompassed within bylaws or something else in terms of, I think we've got an item later on our agenda for considering our fiscal year, for example.
Correct.
But again, just some help or some assistance with counseling on budget and development of budget practices, budget policies.
Yeah, that's well within our wheelhouse.
Okay.
We'll be able to address that,
Yeah,
yes, sir.
I don't want to get into the weeds too much, but I mean, things like, okay, what kind of reserves should we have? What, should we have an audit done every year? Those kinds of things.
Yes, sir. That'll be a part of the framework governance documents.
Okay.
So that would be in the framework because we can't do anything without those statutorily, I understand.
That's correct, yes,
as
sir.
political subdivision. So where we bank, who we bank, how it's handled, internal controls, all of that has to also be reviewed on an annual basis,
Yes,
from
sir.
what I understand. Okay.
And are the The cost quoted is for phase one. Forgot how many phases you said, 5, 4? 4 phases. Each phase is independent, I mean, in terms of service deliverables as well as cost.
Yes, sir.
And then, I guess, last question that I have anyway for you is, what would you anticipate a timeline to be? I mean, you estimated number of hours for the 2, 4, 5 deliverables in phase one, but would you have any sense of what that might look like on a calendar, so to speak?
Sure. So for phase one, I was thinking within 6-month timeline, I'd like to have all of this complete. And we can certainly accelerate that depending on the need.
And I guess, look to the board here for a second, but refresh me, budget-wise, what we have, for those that don't know, we mentioned this at our first board meeting, but all 4 entities that are up here have all made some financial commitments to initially help fund CTWA. And there was a draft, I did not bring that in here, but we had a draft document. I just don't remember what we allocated for. This would be under our, I think that professional services, I think is what the line item was. Is this within that funding?
Not what we had penciled in, no.
Okay.
I think we had penciled in 25,000 for the first, I mean, we were penciling in stuff before we had commitments and.
Understood.
I think we have 175,000
Yes.
commitment in,
We have 175,000 committed.
at this time. Yep. So it's, so we put in, according to proposed budget, I think we put in 250 or 300,000 anticipated. I didn't bring that with me, Judge.
Okay.
Did ask him a question. I said, you know, in my world, I can't pay my bills until my brother-in-law straightens up. So are you, because we don't even have the governance up, are you willing to do that and once we get set up, then be able to start?
Yes, sir. We're flexible.
Yeah. And of course, the entity's financial commitments that have been made don't go into effect until October 1.
Yes.
We understand the risk. Yes, sir.
Okay.
So we know what our income is, we don't know what our expenses are, so you have to work with it.
But we can help out with that.
It's a typical government operation.
Yeah.
It certainly is.
So we've got, I was just trying to remember on the, again, just the penciled in budget that we tried to put together. But y'all think we've got room in the financial commitments that we have to date anyway for this engagement without adversely impacting those other line items? We only had about 5 line items on there, as I recall. It wasn't very many.
Yeah.
We could phase those in too, once we know who our members are and how that structure, where there'll be administrative participation fees.
No, I understand. It was, that very preliminary early draft of the budget was based very conservatively on only revenue associated from the 4 entities. And we anticipate that to be supplemented as we go forward. I get that. Okay. Well, again, I appreciate you being here. I appreciate submitting a proposal to us for services that I think, I won't speak for everybody up here, I'll let anybody make a comment, but that we certainly need. We need to get our framework in place. We need to have our bylaws in place. We need to have our policies and operational procedures, and we need all of those things just administratively to do the work that we want to get to. So I get that, and I, again, appreciate you presenting this. Any other questions from the board?
Just on the timeline, Aaron, were you, just so I understand, you mentioned this being somewhere around a 6-month phase. Does that mean that within 6 months, we would have all these recommendations in hand, or would this be deliverable as you go, so we can start getting things in place like in the next meeting or two.
Sure. So there are several different items that we could execute first, and just to kind of get you up off the ground, and so we can prioritize what your needs are initially. I have a list of how I see that happening.
Okay.
But sure, we could either do it stepwise.
So it
such
could
as
be a
that's
triaged approach, and then by 6 months, we should have pretty much all of it,
It should be all done.
at least in our hands.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Okay.
Much of the deliverables that are listed there, I say much, but some of that is, you'll draft the documents or the policies, the framework, all of those kinds of things, and then hand it over to us, and then as we look at that, we have an impact on how quickly we can get all that stuff in place. In other words, if we take 2 or 3 meetings to go back and forth or want to change things or do something differently, then it'll extend, or perhaps we could shorten, based on what we get and then how quickly we're able to act on it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, my hope is we could do it in less than 6 months.
I think that we can. I'm giving us a little extra wiggle room just in
Yeah.
case.
My hope is that it's more like 90 to 120 days.
That's my expectation. So much of the legwork that was done in phase 0, we're going to build upon that. So we're not starting from scratch. We're starting from a really good footing.
Okay. Now, all that said, again, I think we understand that we've got you call it a compliance checklist, but there's a lot of things we need to do in order to make sure that we meet the state obligations under our enabling legislation, Senate Bill 1194, as well as all the other government code sections and regulations that we've got to meet as an authority. So I think we understand that. So some of it is just going to be necessary, and we'll have to walk through or plod through it. And again, hope we can go faster than that.
I fully anticipate being able to go faster than that. I just wanted to make sure that we're not, in case any unforeseen circumstances come up, we have a little extra wiggle room. And that's why I scoped in the contingency services, just so, we can have on-call services as needed to, facilitate as much collaboration as you'd like.
Okay, any other questions, board? If not, I'll entertain a motion on item 2.
I move that we accept this proposal from Plummer and Associates for Phase 1 services in the amount of
$275.
$275.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Second, Judge.
Motion and a second. Any other questions, comments?
I just would say that it's going to be very important for us to stay engaged, and the judge, they've assigned us as your technical committee, so we would be available at any time. I think because we would not represent a quorum or a walking quorum, so that would be amenable to you all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent.
Any other questions or comments? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, thank you. Thank you. Look
Thank you
forward to
very
working with you.
much. I appreciate it.
Item 3 is to discuss and consider take appropriate action if necessary to set the fiscal year of October 1st through September 30th of each subsequent year. I guess this is technically our first budget step, is to set our fiscal year. I think do all of us have October 1 fiscal years?
WCID has a April 1.
April?
Yeah.
We're October.
October.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ricky.
It just fits where we can do the budgeting, but he's got a proactive board that'll support that.
Yeah, we get our numbers to our customers, so, yeah.
Good deal. Well, I like lining it up with our fiscal year.
Yeah.
It makes our budgeting process go a whole lot easier and simpler if it is.
Like pulling the Band-Aid off, you get to do it all at one time.
That's right, that's right. All right, any other questions or discussion on this item? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motions or second?
Second.
Any other questions, discussion? Not, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, thank you, board. Item 4 is discuss and consider take appropriate action if necessary on application process and general criteria for membership. Ricky, you want to introduce this one?
Yeah, I'm going to actually defer to Dirk. He's done the homework on this and can provide more detail on this.
So we do have several entities who've submitted an application. We have the application out there. It's a fillable form just to get it placeholder. But when we look specifically at the bill and there's, I think it's section 1102.106. It describes the method of adding sponsors. So the first thing is, it says under there, it authorizes us as an entity to, authorizes local government or private entities to petition us. And so in matter of semantics, an application form, yes, but a letter petitioning you to add them, us as a board, add them is memorialized in the Enabling Act. The second, or the third part says that requires on receipt a petition under Section A hearing on the petition or petitions and provide notice of that date of that public hearing. So in many cases, public hearings like that, we don't have a statutory, but yet in small political subdivisions, those, we can do that on a 20-day notice, or we can do it on a 10-day notice in keeping with other Chapter 49, Chapter 36, those kinds of things. So we would have to call the hearing. And so then we take the petition letter, we all review it, and the information, the application form. Then we would hold a public hearing and take public comments one way or the other. But the thing that has to happen after that, it says in Section D, it says, well, it requires, Section D, subsection D requires the hearing, but then subsection E, after the hearing on the petition, the board determines that the local government or private entity should be added to the alliance as a sponsor. To issue an order adding the local government or private entity to the alliance, and in this particular case, we could have a resolution so it becomes effective that day by the four of us, should we all agree. But the thing that I want to point out to the entities, as well as the private entities, is that in subsection F, it's very specific there. It says, under F, it requires that the effective date of the order, if the subject of the order is a local government, allow enough time for the local government to comply with subsection G. And in other words, the private entities don't have to adhere to that, but subsection G simply says, requires a local government that is the subject of an order issued by the board of the alliance to publish notice of the alliance's proposal to add the local government to the alliance as a sponsor. It requires that the notice be published in a newspaper of general circulation in the county in which the local government is located. It has to be published at least once per week for 2 consecutive weeks. So we have the draft language somewhat put together. We would, again, ask our consultant to double-check us on that. But in other words, they petition us, we go through the petition process, hold a public hearing, take public comments, interview, you can talk to each one of the entities, and then if we call an order to make them a member, then they have to do public notice. Initially, we thought they had to do public notice before we held our public hearing, but it's the opposite according to the letter of the Enabling Act.
And then that's from S 1194?
Yes.
So what happens after the public notice?
After the public notice, it says, be published at least once, and with the first publication appearing on the 14th day before the effective date of the order, and state the effective date of the order. So we're issuing an order, and so they publish that in the notice in the newspapers, and so we establish that day that public
They
notice.
publish it.
They publish it,
Okay.
we do not. But we establish the date the order becomes effective.
Okay.
So it takes a little bit of monitoring the calendar and being forthright with each of the applications we have.
But there's no further action under 1194 after the publication?
No.
Okay.
But before we go too deep into that, we may want to talk about the financial management and what the administrative fees might look like. And I don't know if we have an action item or can discuss that today. But becoming a member, for example, the Groundwater District, Middle Trinity has requested to be a member. We've received a petition letter from them. They were assuming they would contribute $25,000 like this district has, knowing that we're not a water purveyor, so it's a different structure, being that we're a GCD. The fact that we've agreed to $25,000, they've agreed in their petition letter to us, which we haven't taken action to do the same thing. I would say you need to look at some other mechanism on how to bring other entities into the organization. It could be so many dollars per MGD if they're a water purveyor.
Which, again, these, and we've called it a member application form, but the legislation actually calls them sponsors.
Sponsors.
And I'm fine with member and membership, but it is a little bit confusing to some, I think, when we start saying sponsors, because that's just the way the legislation is done. Other water authorities, as they call those sponsors. But it does seem appropriate to have some discussion about what the membership cost is, and the members that are applying should know what that is before they come into the.
And we have that on this item as general criteria for membership,
Yeah.
which would include cost and.
And so we've talked about several things, that maybe there should be some membership categories, like water purveyor, non-water purveyor, public, I'm just throwing all kinds of things out. Private entity, public entity, non-water purveyor. I mean, just, there can be all kinds of categories there with different criteria that are associated with what that means in terms of membership.
And in lieu of all that, we may need to come back with a financial management policy at the next meeting and that criteria and recommendation, and actually vet some of our questions on what membership would look like of those who have already submitted an application.
That would be my thought.
Okay.
I assume there's similar entities that have been through this process, and there might be some guideline that we could look at. And Ricky, you may have.
Yeah, well, the folks that I've talked to that are in the same position as a water authority have a water supply or water treatment, and so they typically go by volume as far as cost, and that doesn't fit us because we don't have any contracts or we're not in the water supply business yet. We hope to be, but it doesn't fit us right now.
Yeah.
So in that sense, we are a little bit unique in that regard.
Yeah.
I mean, we could look at we certainly have been looking at some other models, but it's going to be a little bit. I was going to read, I think I counted 8 applicants. Is that right, Rick?
That's right.
Yes,
sir.
And just so everybody knows who they are that have applied so far. City of Lorena, Bell County WCID number 3, 439 Water Supply Corporation, Middle Trinity Groundwater Control District, Pendleton Water Supply Corporation, Mustang Springs Utility, Bluebonnet Water Supply Corporation, and Kempner Water Supply Corporation. Is that 8?
That's what I had.
That's the one I've got, ones I have. Ricky, did you have?
7 or 8.
Did you mention 439 water supply?
I think I did.
Yeah, okay. That's it.
4, 5, 6, 7.
So those are the ones that are received today. We have not, there has been no closure of the application
No.
window, so to speak. So we're still accepting applications.
There's 7.
7?
Yeah.
Okay.
We have some blank applications up here too for anybody that still needs one.
And we haven't posted where?
They're on our website, WCID1. It should be on here if it's
Okay.
not.
So until we get a website stood up, again, WCID number 1 has been gracious enough to allow the Alliance to post
Yeah, it's
our
on.
information there.
And if I may, we may reach back to some who simply submitted an application, but a letter formally petitioning us for formation and signed by whoever with that authority can do that is what we're going to be asking once we get to the next agenda item. But I think the application process will be simple and not too encumbering, but gives us an idea of who they are, what their problems might be within there, or what their challenges are, what their goals are.
We might even, 1194 says they must petition.
Yes, it uses the word petition. Petition and pursue and requesting membership is a matter of semantics in this case.
Right, that's kind of where I was heading was, I would view the membership application form as a petition.
Yes.
so that that complies with that, but at any rate, okay.
And do we accept them as they come in at the next board meeting? In other words, it's not gonna all come in front, is it, or
I think we should, but I think we need to have some basis to, we're making our selections on. I think we all agree, I don't want to put words in anybody else's mouth, but I know we've discussed before we were a entity that we wanted all the water purveyors, large or small, to be represented and engaged in this. And that's the difficult thing. But I've said that part, now y'all have to figure out the details on that. But I think there's gonna have to be, getting back to the membership classes,
Yeah.
if you're a WSC, I think the size of your CCN, whether it's developed or undeveloped, ought to be a factor. And that,
Because that's what
maybe-
you can grow to.
Yes, and it's not necessarily all population driven. Obviously, population's got to be a factor, a big factor too. But if it's the only factor, then we lose the rural folks who probably need us as much or more than anybody.
So it's like, what comes first, chicken or the egg? I think we should talk about a timeline and think about when we want to have these policies in place, and maybe look 30 days later when that hearing to review and go public on the applications that we have in a public hearing, rather than trying to do them both the same day. Might be a little cumbersome, because they're going to want some time once we set the policies and determine the framework for initial membership. They may want to withdraw their petition, or it may incentivize others to get in, so that we can have a cadre of those on one, let's just say October, or, yeah.
Well, it also seems to me like, and I'm going to look for Aaron, there he is right in front of me, that this discussion is directly related to our governance framework, bylaws, and initial board policies. It is. And so I kind of view that as, those first two bullets in terms of the deliverables there are top of our list, because it's going to help us go through this process for accepting members or sponsors. So my thought is, this goes to the technical committee along with our newly engaged consultant.
And this particular agenda item, I would recommend that we table it until the next meeting.
Right, well, or at least bring it, but yeah, bring back some recommendations with those first two deliverables.
So if you need a motion, I move that we table item number 4 until the next meeting, and send us to work.
Okay,
Or send Aaron to work, and we'll
yeah,
umpire.
All right,
second.
motion is second to table. I also want to say thanks to those entities that have submitted the membership application forms. We very much appreciate that. Please know, we're not, no one wants to move faster on all of this than we do. But by the same token, we need to be deliberative in what we're doing. And we're going to do that. So I appreciate the board's assistance and help in that also, but.
They've signed up for a concept.
Absolutely.
And
Well,
so-
a lot of entities have. I mean, I'm still fielding phone calls from folks that want to know more about it and want to know how to participate. And in many ways, what I have been having to do is sort of tap down expectations a little bit. I sometimes feel like, this is probably not the town to say this, but University of Texas, University of Texas ranked number 1, expected to win a national championship. Manning's expected in a Heisman Trophy. There is no place but down for the University of Texas to coach. No place but down. If neither one of those is accomplished, they have failed this season. I sort of feel like the Alliance, the expectations are as high as they can possibly be. And we're going to do our best to meet those by everybody's standards and eyes. But as I've said many times in many forums, there's no silver bullets and there's no speeding bullets when it comes to water planning and water development. So it's going, we're going to be deliberative in what we're doing. We're going to move as fast as we can. But we want to be smart in what we're doing also. So very much appreciate everybody's patience as well as assistance as we go through that process. All right, I have a motion to table in a second on item 4. Any other discussion? Not all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. All right, item 5 is discuss and consider take appropriate action if necessary to approve a proposed timeline for establishment of financial management policy and initial budget to be reviewed and offered in accordance with state law. Is this
Yes,
Ricky
sir.
or Dirk?
So this is another one that would fall with our new consultant and with that scope of work. And we could bring that back, recommendations for next meeting also.
I think that's a wise thing. Okay? Is that a motion to table?
Yes, sir.
A second.
And a motion and a second. Any other discussion or questions on it? Not all in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay.
I'm sorry,
It's all right.
I was drifting.
Any,
I was thinking about retirement.
I know. Any other, motion carries. Item 6 is to schedule and locate, the schedule and location for the next board meeting. I don't know that, I think to me that might depend upon when we've got those 2 deliverables ready to look at.
Going to just be to be determined, and we'll try to make that.
That would be my
Yeah,
suggestion.
y'all will know more about.
Are we still
coordination.
looking at fourth Thursdays is usually good times on y'all's calendars?
It is for me, but I'll try to work it. Tuesdays would not be good, and I have probate court on Wednesday, so.
What about fourth Thursdays? We've got quite a bit of, I mean, our workforce board meets, our COG meets on the fourth Thursday, our something else meets on the fourth Thursday, but we've got a bunch of fourth Thursdays. Does third Thursdays work?
Yeah.
Third Thursdays, okay.
Okay.
Third Thursday.
So we'll keep that in mind as we'll, but
Okay.
this one will, when we have a deliverable or ready for the board, we'll get it.
Okay, and the deliverable, again, the items we're looking for is associated with those first 2 deliverables under phase 1.
Yes.
Or at least some drafts associated with that. Hang on just a second. Okay, and again, to be determined, we post our meetings, the agendas on WCID #1 website, so that's where you can go to look to see when the next meeting is, so just keep your eyes out for that. I think we also post them
At the county clerk.
at the county, for McLennan County and Bell County, we also post them where we post our agendas. So there's 3 different places you can go to look to see where the agendas are. All right. Anything else, Ricky?
Okay.
Yes, sir?
The next item, public comment.
How many constitute a quorum, and can you talk outside of 50 at all?
Let me, if I can, we don't really have public comments on our agenda or public. I understand. I'd be happy to address that with you as soon as we adjourn the meeting, if you like. Okay? All right. Any other questions?
Well, future agenda items, we might, because there is a lot of discussion, and maybe depending on when the next meeting is, but legislative action that may help or inhibit progress on how we're going.
Well, I think, yeah, that's a good point, Judge. I think I 100% agree. I think we'll work on the agenda and try to add a couple of items on there to provide, maybe a legislative update, certainly during legislative timeframes. That would be very good to have on our agenda. There may be a couple other things we could put on the agenda also that.
Standing items.
Yeah, just outstanding items or, I don't know. We can
comments
talk
as well.
about some of that too. But I agree with that, Judge. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, anything else before we adjourn? All right, we're adjourned. Thank y'all.
All right.
Thank everybody.